Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Winners Losers Show. Just a single dude who likes to sit around and talk about Dan Friesen.
Oh, shit.
Worship at the altar of Eva, the cat. Dan Friesen.
You have a cat cult?
Did you trademark your opening, Dan?
I don't know.
I just totally ripped you off.
There is a small part of me that worries that I actually rip even you off with a, but I don't think I think that a lot of people, I feel like I remember you saying a at the beginning of podcasts, but I don't think that anybody can trademark a.
Yeah, that'd be a steep climb to persuade a judge that that's your. I don't recall being the A guy. I was welcome to the Winners Losers Show. Yeah,
but still, that's extended a little bit. I think I stole the extended.
Maybe.
Hey.
I was often thinking. So, okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Winners Losers Show, episode 195. I'm your host, Hank Thompson. I'm joined by the inimitable Dan Friesen of the Knowledge Fight podcast. I had booked him and Jordan both, but Jordan went for a swim. He is lost to a undertow behind Dan there somewhere. We watched his body slowly turn small into and go over the horizon. So sorry. That's a joke about your background there, Dan.
Yeah, but I was looking for him in the distance.
Yes,
and it does not look like he's
gone.
He's not doing good.
Yeah, he's bad.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Hopefully, he's buoyant. We'll see.
Do you have a cat cult though?
I do.
Yeah.
But you're actually about to be inducted into the cat cult. I started the tradition last week with guest Ron Placone. Is that by the end of this episode, I will have bullied you into adopting my cat. I want you to have the cat. You will have the cat because she's lovely and wonderful, and it drives me absolutely fucking crazy to be babysitting a creature in my room, but I don't.
You've spoken highly of this cat before when we've talked, and I've told you that I would adopt this cat, but I can't.
Why not?
I just can't. Well,
Why can't
first of all, Celine is not a particularly social cat. I don't think. I think that they would get into fights, and I don't have enough space.
Cat fight content. Think about those Instagram taps.
If I were on TikTok, then cat fights, literal cats fighting, probably, pretty hot commodity. But
sure.
No, I just don't think I have enough space in the place I live for two cats that might be salty with each other.
I'll tell you, man, finding people who say yes to a cat is very hard. You have to ask everybody you know, and I have asked like 5 people because that's roughly how many people I know. It's been a challenge for me. I had a Facebook listing for a while where some lady was interested. Fell apart. I had my hopes up, but yeah, she's a great cat. I'm not getting rid of her. I'm the problem here. I just don't want a cat. I'm not a cat person, and so having an animal in your room, and I just want to be alone in my room. Where that's like, Ron and I got into it a lot on the last episode, but
fair enough.
Nevertheless, I still will continue to bully you into taking it by the end.
Okay, we'll see.
All right. Yeah,
that's a tough thing to accept and admit. But I don't think it's wrong, like that you don't want to have a pet,
right?
I think as long as you're honest about it and don't neglect or mistreat the pet,
right?
Then that's okay.
She deserves somebody who is grateful when she wakes up, not thrilled when she goes to sleep. I see her waking up and I go, oh fuck, cat's waking up, because that sets up the cycle of me feeling like I'm neglecting her.
Sure.
And I am. I don't give her the attention that someone who really wants to sit there and pet with a cat would be giving her, I'd like to make her toys. I built her that little platform in the back. We call those the barflans behind me. So she could be up by the window. I gathered up a bunch of materials to make cat scratchers out of cardboard,
Ooh,
I even bought
fun.
like 3/8 inch threaded rod to like hold it all together. And because you got to replace the cardboard sometimes too. I like to do DIY. I'd think if I had this cat with like if I hadn't stepped off onto some fucked up timeline when I moved to California, not to blame that decision solely, but my whole world is, I really wish I didn't ever left Chicago, man. I really fucking would have. Dan and I started out doing stand-up in Chicago, by the way. I think you had been doing stand-up in Missouri before you moved to...
Yeah, a little bit. It barely counts, though,
okay.
Really.
Yeah. We're kind of... Go ahead.
Oh, it was just sort of pursuing it, but not like trying to do it.
Yeah.
So it just sort of, it was like a junior high before high school or something.
Sure. Chicago's definitely a finishing academy for comedians in a sense. I feel kind of proud that I'm like, I was a Chicago guy. I went to Shuba's open mic the first night.
I hosted Shuba's for a while.
Oh, nice.
I ran it with Chris Condren.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Yeah. We're like those soldiers in Full Metal Jacket that lose their brains in the bathroom and stuff. You know, we have
Yeah.
that bond.
Yep.
Can never get rid of it.
We were in some trenches or something.
I was racked.
Emotional trenches.
Yes. Well, I was just gonna say I was racked by an alcohol problem that was spiraling on a weekly to yearly basis that eventually got a grip on, and yeah, that was fun. Hit
That
it
is
well,
fun.
I think. Probably not, but you know,
It's debatable.
could have been worse. Could have been better.
It's certainly a common experience.
Yes. Well, I think it probably is. If you're going to camouflage your alcoholism, you should hang out with a whole bunch of alcoholics who are addicted to other substances and out late at night.
Who have a quote unquote business reason to be at bars every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had such a fill. Like these days, I'm in this place of like just exhaustion and burnout, and I'm just every episode of my show ends up talking about autism. So like I just didn't know about autism. I finally learned what it was 2 years ago, and it was changed my life and for the better. But I'm still kind of rounding the corner.
Sure.
I would never be able to live the lifestyle of even just, I don't even mean with alcohol, but like just being sober near any noise and sound. Like the amount of overstimulation that's thrown at you in performance environments is really rough. Yeah.
That's interesting because, you know, it really raises the question of whether or not that like sensitivity existed previously and somehow you were just dealing with whatever side effects that overstimulation had, you know? Like if your brain is conceivably the same as it was then, you just didn't realize that you had those sort of effects.
I think there's something to that, and that also connects. I don't think it's the same. I think it's definitely sort of you know, it's becoming more like creamed corn, like creamier corn. Like it's definitely changed, I think, in some ways. But yeah, I do think that that's the case. I have so many memories of standing around outside of bars and shows with you, and then you drop some fucking music lyric that I would just totally destroy the conversation and ruin the flow of the night and devastate everybody's good time. With Dan referring to the Steely Dan lyrics from some album nobody's ever heard before.
No Limit, some Master P or something like that.
See, you just did it.
Not just Steely Dan.
You just did it.
I have a lot of range. Just want to make sure people know.
But I'm just thinking of one outside. I can't think of the name now. Nate Burrows ran it. He bartended, and it was in the place was so fucking loud, and I would try to get him to say again.
Ace Bar.
Yeah, Ace Bar. Yeah. Across from the Walgreens.
Yeah.
And
that's what it's memorable for. Across from the Walgreens.
Yeah, meet me over there by the Walgreens. We'll make out. But I was always asking him to turn the music down. I would be the guy at parties being like, "Can we get the music? Just like, I know, I'm sorry, but like, but not because I was like, I'm autistic, my ears are killing me. It's my brain can't." It was just like, does it have to be? You know, but I was in bars a ton, you know, screaming at people, and I'm taller, so you have to kind of yell down at people sometimes too. So that's a whole different world. And I even bought earplugs for that show. I went and researched it and had bought a can of like 700 or 500 earplugs. Wore two of them.
Walgreens is right over there.
Oh fuck! I should have thought it through. It was right over there next to the earplug depot. What the fuck? And I tried it out, but I'd.
Oh.
There we go. Okay. Patreon.com/winners and losers, everybody. Donate to my fund. I need to buy some gear. Dan, it's really hard to get people to give you money for stuff when you constantly ask and you don't produce consistent content because you've been working on a documentary about a former employer for 3 years.
Which you've put out?
Partially, yeah. 84 minutes of runtime on it. I'm prepping some posts and stuff. I would like to talk about that with you if you've watched it or not, but not that you're here to make this all about me. I do have a bunch of questions about your show, your Alex Jones coverage, but let me finish my whatever I was saying.
About the earplugs at the Ace Bar.
Oh, yeah. I had tinnitus already. And so when I put the earplugs in at the Ace Bar, they worked, but the tinnitus is on the other side of the earplug. It's inside deeper than it goes. It doesn't block out. And so I was just sitting there with this. It was just, I was tortured even further by that.
Does that make the feeling kind of even worse?
Yeah.
I'm asking. I'm not sure. I don't know if I have that experience.
I think
you think that you're going to get relief, and then it's actually
that's what it was. For that specific thing, because I had plotted this whole like, okay, I know what I needed to do to make this fucking Ace Bar experience a little easier. Is these earplugs are going to help me because I'm sitting there, I'm focusing on my bits. I had jokes about zombies, I think, jokes about abortion. I really nailed it. I had all kinds of good stuff. Good long story about making my dad laugh at a funeral. That was one of my Anyway, yeah.
And then Nate Burrows is over here playing Macklemore and
yeah. And also, never trust a bartender to gauge sound volume because they all have hearing damage. They've been working in bars. They can't. They're we sacrifice for our jobs in this world.
That's true.
So I'm going to work at a library. A heavy metal library.
Any place where you can shush is not bad. Not a bad workplace.
Shush, I'm autistic. Shush. Yeah, man. So it's great to connect. You and I fell apart. Not that we did that on purpose, but I moved to California and just sort of drifted off into the nether regions. I'd heard a little bit about this show of yours.
Knowledge fight.
We are back. Sam Cedar on the Majority Report.
Apparently, it is a very popular podcast. Everyone seems to love them.
Alex Jones lost in court this week, but the conspiracy culture he symbolizes is winning.
You guys did a good job with that. I didn't see you got the threefold there.
They know an inordinate amount about Alex Jones, as someone, I guess, should.
And my next guests were in the courtroom for part of the trial to witness it firsthand.
I want to welcome to the program Dan Friesen and Jordan Holmes.
They've spent 5 of their years of their lives dedicated to covering Jones, skewering Jones, and his InfoWars website on a podcast called Knowledge Fight.
They are the co-hosts of the Knowledge Fight podcast.
Can you hear us?
I can hear both of you, everybody.
Dan and Jordan are back home in Chicago now, and they're joining me live.
Chat. Okay. Welcome our fantastic guests.
You guys have done hundreds of episodes.
Dan Friesen and Jordan Holmes launched the podcast in 2017.
We do a podcast. It's no one asked us to do it, and it's dumb, and it shouldn't. People shouldn't listen to it. But it's about Alex Jones.
You track Alex Jones,
and on it they use comedy to cut through crazy lies.
And we've done about 620 episodes.
They've produced more than 700 episodes. It turned it into a full-time career, and they flew to Texas to see the trial in person.
People didn't ask for episode number 1. They sure as hell didn't get to 500, and we're like, yeah, we're not done yet. No.
Yeah.
Wow.
How long have you been doing this? Like how many?
Well, we started
every day.
I used to, for sure.
Dan, what was the most impactful moment for you in that courtroom in Texas?
It's a mess, but we keep learning new things, and so we keep exploring.
I bet it's changed a lot for you, having to think about Alex Jones every day.
How does one push back against this endless barrage of not only disinformation, but now the filtering to make it seem like he's actually correct?
I mean, I hate to say this, but I don't know if there is a really good way to do that. These are the ways that a lot of the stories are told, like him being punished for having the integrity to tell it like it is.
So wait a second.
It was pretty funny how much unnecessary security he had, though. That was pretty funny.
There was an Ocean's 11 size number of security detail around him, yes.
Interesting. I didn't see that.
Yeah, because it would be too hard. He had 100 different conspiracy theories about 9/11. Which one are you going to go with?
How has it changed as these legal cases have mounted and, frankly, it's come home to roost for him?
We agreed with him about civil asset forfeiture. He was really against that. And we're like, all right, Alex, you got one.
Yeah.
And it's you can't, just because you're a liar and an idiot doesn't mean you're not going to get a couple things right here and there, and it's not impressive.
Subscribe to Knowledge Fight, everyone, right now, all of you. Go sub, go follow, go review, positive 5 stars, iTunes, you name it.
I'm telling you right now, we preach only to the choir. We're not anybody.
They won't be as big and they won't have the same size of audience. So yeah, I think it's going to help.
Jordan and Dan, thank you both for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Up next.
Oh, well, thanks again, Dan and Jordan. That was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Bye. Everyone, that was Knowledge Fight, aka Dan and Jordan.
Dan Friesen, Jordan Holmes. The show is Knowledge Fight. We will put a link to your podcast, and really appreciate you coming on. It's a job I think we all appreciate you doing.
Thank you for having us and your nonstop kind words.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Gotta hand it to them. That is that they're putting it out there, so you don't have to watch.
So I knew it started. We'd hung out a few times with Matt Riggs and Hogan, and when I'd come back a time or two, but then I remember dropping you off one night outside your apartment. It was very cold.
Mm-hmm.
Death himself would need a jacket. That's how cold it was.
Right.
And we were just chatting, and I was still working on the Jimmy Dore program, and I think I was expressing some of the things you tell someone you trust closely about how you're feeling about the world and your station in the world.
I love my boss.
I was working on my resume, saying how much I enjoy having to be a worker.
Sure.
Okay, we're back. And you said something like that sounded to me like the craziest fucking thing I'd ever heard a man say, which was, I think I'm doing like Alex Jones, like his show. I don't know what you didn't even have a name yet. And you told me you were going to start doing, you had this idea to like cover Alex Jones and do a podcast and stuff. And we'd all been podcasting since like I started in 2010. I really wish I'd stuck it out. I think I'd have an audience by now, 14 years later, I hope, but I've just been so inconsistent. And had a lot of fun, and so like, so as comedians, you sort of are like planning and hoping and doing little things outside of just doing stand up, and podcasting was one of those. It was like 2016 at times, and when you told me that, I thought this guy is the dumbest fucking. This is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life. How could he possibly think? Not one, I wasn't because I thought your talents wouldn't be worthwhile, but it was like, why would you want to inhabit a mental space like that on purpose? Like it sounded like a nightmare if it worked, is what I mean. Like, go ahead, try it. That's fine. And the other thing was, aren't you worried about poking the hornet's nest? That seems insane. And so, of course, I didn't like say all that right at that point. I was like, I hope it works, whatever it was. It was freezing in the car, right? And
freezing in the car, eh?
Oh my God, double freezing. Jesus. Like, too bad it doesn't cancel out. It actually accumulates. But nevertheless, then years go by, and then you turn up on the Behind the Bastards podcast, and I'd heard about your show, and I knew you were still doing it, but I lost track of a lot of stuff too. I'd been having a lot of severe mental crises and various things, and so then including the like part of the autistic sort of disability is like I'm not good at being a friend. I'm a good friend, but I'm not good at being a friend. I forget to, et cetera, et cetera. I think I'm a good friend. I try to be. And then you're hosting the show, and then my brother was talking about your show, and he's a huge fan. And then I start listening because I was like, all right, I'm going to see what it is. Even though I'm severely jealous, it sounds like he's doing great, and I fucking hate him, and I'm jealous. Fair. And I'm a fan now, and I want to have Jordan on the show when he gets back from swimming in the ocean.
Well, if we would have planned a little better, I bet I could have corralled him over here. But
I didn't want to do two at once. That's too much.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a lot.
It.
The two of us together too are very difficult to keep on track.
Yes.
That's something that anybody who's heard us on anything knows.
I saw you on the Majority Report, which you got to go back on, by the way. I think that has to happen.
I'm open.
I'll make some contacts.
You were very polite, I guess, with not being a dick about my idea that I had at that time.
But were others not?
I think the general consensus that I got from everybody is about what was in your head. Is like, are you nuts? That sounds really fucking awful and dumb. And it was, and I think that everyone is right. Everyone's take on it is right, and it's turned into something that I didn't expect or really even aspire towards necessarily. Like when I was starting, I had those same thoughts that you're describing, or your like anxieties, like that's a terrible headspace to be in, poking the bear, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those were thoughts that I had. Like I remember still fairly clearly, like the night when we posted our first episode, I was like, am I gonna wake up to people posting my address? Am I going to wake up to death threats? Because at that time, especially in early 2017, the image of Alex as like this most important kind of figure in the Trump orbit and all this, like, you know, he still hadn't gotten kicked off of social media the first time around. He hadn't, the Sandy Hook trials weren't going. And so like there was a feeling of power that he had that I kind of understand now to be a little bit of an illusion. But at that time, I had no awareness of anything. I just thought like I'm going to end up maybe getting killed for this.
Right.
I don't know. And then nothing.
It would make a great bit.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. I was like, well, I guess that one night of losing sleep over it was worth it.
Yeah.
But then in terms of the bad headspace, I was kind of more curious than anything else. I was like, this sucks. I'd listened to it. I'd watched the debates, the 2016 presidential debates on there. And then I watched the election night. And I'd gotten so confused and interested in it.
You mean you watched Alex Jones's coverage of the debates and and the election? Okay.
Yeah. So I watched, like, it would be Trump and Hillary debating in the background, and then Alex would be screaming about how Hillary's a demon and stuff. And so it was kind of entertaining for the debates. But then when it got to the election, a little bit less fun, a little bit more kind of alarming.
Do you think if Trump had not won, you would have still had this thought to do it or followed through this? I mean, did it have to do with like, what's this thing ascendant here? Because that's a shift of Alex's access to power that might have been something you were intrigued by.
That's true. I don't know. It's an interesting question, because I remember that like a very visceral moment for me that was encouraging towards doing the show was this moment when Trump had won. You have this, you can still find the video and the images of this, but there's like Alex and Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer and like all of these shitty right-wing dudes sitting around toasting champagne, laughing at B-roll of Hillary supporters crying at rallies. And it's, you know, diverse crowds of people who's are wrestling with the fact that like their rights are going to be under jeopardy now. And it's just these old white dudes laughing at them crying. And I remember viscerally feeling like that's pretty fucking gross. And I know that's not the like primary motivation for doing the show, but I know that was a piece of what gave a little momentum to it. But I think that if Trump had lost, I might have still done it, because I was still curious. Like, Alex is out here yelling all this random bullshit, and like you do wonder where it comes from. Like it's really hard to watch him through like open eyes and not be like, what the fuck sources is he talking about? Like, what are these declassified documents? What is this? And I think even if Trump had lost, I'd still have that curiosity. Like, what is this madman yelling about?
Yeah, there would have been. I lost the train of my. I started thinking about the Young Turks incident where he went and spat on the guys. That's what fucked up my brain there.
When Jimmy Dore spit on Alex.
Jimmy Dore spit on Alex.
Overcomes every other demographic advantage Hillary has.
Come sit in your lap.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, Alex Jones, how you doing?
Good to see you, man. You're looking sexy.
All right.
Hey, how's the revolution going? You guys starting the revolution? How are you guys doing?
We're doing okay.
You like all our Hillary for Prison shirts everywhere?
Here,
look at this. I got a new shirt for you right here. It's rape. It's Bill Clinton that says rape. Oh, God, hide that immediately. That's the big no. The Roger Stone's banned.
All right, you want to take my show over? I'll take your show over.
Go ahead.
You know who was accused in court papers of being a rapist? Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump, Roger Stone. You're a sick man, Roger Stone.
Roger,
no, you're the world's biggest liar.
Get him in here.
Roger, run away.
Roger, don't go. He wants to debate you right now.
I'm not going to debate this guy. You're a hatchet man. You're the biggest liar in media.
Don't get too mad. We got to have
All right, well, first of all,
He's actually mad. You're actually really upset. Saudi Arabians aren't funny enough. Your little jihad.
Hey, first of all, let me explain something, all right? Okay, this is bullshit.
Hold on.
We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass! We talk about that all the time.
Oh, really?
We talk about that all the time.
Well,
You don't know shit. What do you think? The lizard people are in charge?
No.
Is that what you think?
Hey, you're pissed. We're kicking your
Bilderbergs?
ass.
Is that what you
You're
think?
the anti-liberal and you're pissed.
Bullshit.
We're being nice here.
Knowledge fight.
Anybody hurt? I'm not going.
Everybody get the fuck off my stage! Get the fuck off my stage!
What the fuck? What a fucking cowardly little bitch. Yeah, get the fuck out. I'm right here. Did you spit in his face? Right here. Did you spit in his face? Right here. Did you?
I'm not going.
Everybody get the fuck off my stage! Get the fuck off my stage!
We're being nice here.
You know what I care
You're the
about?
one flipping out.
I care about the American people.
Good. You're the one flipping out. Anybody hurt? I'm being nice. I'm not going.
Everybody get the fuck off my stage!
Hey,
Get the fuck off my stage!
that guy just spit in my face. Unbelievable. See, you're the one that was cheating. You're the one that attacked.
Hey, Alex, security's here.
I got it. Well, there's the ones attacking. All right, good. That is the craziest shit I've ever seen. They just spit in my face for no reason.
And Jordan, I'm sweating.
He is also the founder of InfoWars, the multimedia enterprise. He has been banned by many prominent social media outlets for a range of alleged violations, although his Twitter account was recently restored. Welcome to the show, Alex Jones.
Wow, Jimmy, I've been a big fan of you for a long time. And you're one of the only men who spit I've had in my mouth. So I just want to say that I've also had Willie Nelson spit in my mouth.
Oh, okay.
But my mouth was open when you spit at me like a spitting cobra and went right in my mouth. So
Christ.
you and Willie Nelson have both been in my mouth.
No, I stand by.
Put that on your headstone?
I put that on my headstone, but I stand by that you were being funny because you were being funny. You said to Jake Uger, "I'm trying to be nice," and that was funny to me. And let's just show it. Here, I'll show it what happened. Here it is.
No, Jake, relax. Hold on. We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass! We talk about that all the time. We talk about that all the time. You don't know shit. What do you think? The lizard people are in charge? No. Is that what you think?
Hey, you're pissed.
Bilderbergs? Is that what you think?
You're the anti-liberal and you're pissed.
Bullshit.
We're being nice here.
Time to pray. Andy in Kansas, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hello, Alex. I'm a first-time caller. I'm a huge fan. I love your work.
I was supposed to be there, but I would have been in that shot. I would have been right there because Jimmy ran up,
could have
spat on him.
saved Jimmy from himself.
Well, I don't think I would have stopped that. It seemed like it was things for commotion, cacophonous, but physically commotionous. That's not a word. But no, I absolutely. Jimmy would have. I would have been holding a camera and a backpack and a bunch of sound shit, and Jimmy would have probably ran over by me. And I'm large, so I would have probably had to square off with like the guy that went up to Jimmy and was like, "Hey, what's your deal?" Because Alex had his guys running around. That was
You'd
crazy.
have to fight Tim Enlow, Alex's security guard, who used to be Blackwater.
Oh, well, that surely would have worked. I would have been like, "Dude, I played rugby until a little bit, till a guy tried to punch my head, and then I quit because it was like, what the fuck am I doing? This is stupid."
Or the other way it could have gone is Jimmy's like, "Hank, spit on him with me."
Yeah, Hank, Hank, take some tea in your mouth. He squirts. Yeah. Jimmy called me right after that. He called me immediately. He wanted to put up the video. He's like, "I gotta put up the video," because I was still working for him. I was like summer
a lot of
2016. Hits. Yeah, and I was like, "Isn't that assault? I don't. Maybe not. I don't know." But I mean, it was all filmed and all was going to go up anyway, so I probably should have put it up.
The good news is that if you're somebody who attracts attention, like Alex is probably never going to actually press charges for something like assault because the traction of the like video of him being spit on is so much better for him than some kind of a protracted using the law. Like,
right.
he never pressed charges against that guy who poured coffee on him, which may or may not have even been fake.
Hot coffee?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. That whole incident is something that like is blurred in my memory.
Sure.
People say that he was a pro wrestler and maybe was a fake plant or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone in Seattle threw coffee at
We
him.
should stage that. We should do that to get some. I should shoot you with an arrow or something.
I'll throw some coffee at you.
Pummel you with the mallet that we were talking about before we started. Oh,
nice looking mallet.
Thank you. I derailed the conversation from the other thing, but yeah, the spitting thing was something else, and then Jimmy, had this explanation that he did a spit take, and he kind of had sort of a humorous way of explaining that. It's like he was so funny that I just went, and it's like, does anybody really come on? What do you that sort of
I don't know if the video matches that.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't. It wasn't a street performance, an impromptu, and he was just so entertaining that one couldn't hold their tea in their mouth. But then
Alex didn't make a great bon mot, and then
but Alex was on Jimmy's show then. Like, who would have predicted that this year, within the last year, I think, Alex comes on the Jimmy Dore program, and they talked about that, and they made peace, and Alex said he was very proud to be, he's had Willie Nelson's and Jimmy Dore's spit in his mouth because he shared a big weed with Willie Nelson, which honestly sounds gross. I would be like, ugh, I don't know, it's a little wet. Like, that grossed me out more than anything was hearing about Willie Nelson's spit. So, any comments on that?
I think I'd be more grossed out by Jimmy's spit.
Yeah.
But like, how many times back in the day have we been passing? I mean, not you or I necessarily, because I don't think I knew you as a weed person.
No.
But I've definitely smoked a lot of blunts with a lot of various people, and you can viscerally still like sort of bring back memories of that wet tip of the blunt, and it is kind of gross, but still not as gross as Jimmy's spitting in your mouth.
Probably not. Yeah, I would be sensitive to that. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, that's just one of my hang-ups. Yeah. All right. So what was I saying right before that, though? Your decision to continue the show, and then how quickly did you start to? One thing that I've admired of your efforts, and that you do really well these days, especially for years, I'd say, but. And I'm asking this is, how do I do it? Is like, how do you be so consistent? Because were you consistent right out the gate? Did you just keep pushing through those dark times? Because every show, especially when you're a nobody with nothing, like no major signal boosts getting you going, you got to really just keep your nose to the grindstone when it's at its lowest. I feel like that's where I keep my show, is at that part where I just give up before it gets better, because I just can't stay consistent. What was it like for you?
I think there's an illusion of consistency probably, and that's because like at the beginning there so obviously the first episode, and pretty consistently in all of it, was me and Jordan. And one thing that I meant to do when I started, that I'm glad we didn't keep going, was doing it every day. Like, I was going to do the show every day, Monday through Friday, and try and stay as current and up to date, and like almost a Talking Dead kind of thing about Alex's show.
Like Howard Stern, like, show after the show.
Yeah. And at that time, Jordan and I both had jobs. And so I would be at work and I would listen to Alex's show and take notes at my desk job, and then come home and try and get the episode ready, and And then but Jordan, like, the idea of making him do this every day and have a 9-to-5 job was just impossible. And so, like, I had this idea of like other fill-in Jordans. Like, obviously Jordan's always the co-host, but then other people like fill in for him, and it just, like, that didn't work. The chemistry between he and I, and the interest that was clearly shared, didn't translate to other people. And so, like, there's a consistency in terms of we kept going, but there were ideas of doing it every day or 3 days a week, or there have been changes along the way and balls that we've dropped along the way. But in terms of just like keeping doing it, it was just insane curiosity. Like, there was an itch that never really fully got scratched of like trying to understand what the fuck is behind this. Like, where is this all coming from? Like, I could find him talking about primary sources every now and again, but like putting the pieces together of like, what is this about, was like almost like, how do people keep going on cold cases?
Right,
it felt like that. It felt like I was a detective trying to piece together, like, is this man a racist?
Well, it becomes, and I doubt you conceptualized it as I don't even know if I want to call it a leftist project, but you're just really dialed in on what's true and what's verifiable and what's honest and what's like, even when you're like not sure, you're like, I notice like, and I admire that, like you're really careful to offer even just to consider some kind of alternate possibility if you don't have full proof of something, you know, that I would consider that to be like the notion that falls under good faith, right? Good faith operation. And so like, but you weren't really thinking of it as a political thing. But inherently, you're covering a guy who's covering politics, you're covering a guy who, especially with Trump winning, now has access to this kind of ascendant movement that is this reawakening. And then your show is, and I'm saying this as a fan of the show, and I wonder if other people who are fans of your show agree that like it's not really about Alex Jones. It's really about like American culture and American politics. And it gives this like kind of, he's just sort of like the gravitational lensing kind of thing that allows you to view stuff that normally you might not be able to see. I mean, of course, it's clearly about Alex Jones, but your willingness to like research what happened and give a background history about what story he's talking about, there's an educational component to it in a sense.
I'm glad for that. You know, I'm glad that is the effect that it's had. That was not the intention.
Right.
But that being said, I'm glad that it evolved towards that, because like the intention initially was just like, I'm fascinated by this. I want to figure out what the fuck is going on, and let's make fun of this guy who's a little bit too dramatic. And I never really conceived of it as like something that had like an educational component or anything, where you're actually going to take something away from the episode for quite a while. That took a while to build in. Because I started to realize that like, oh, wait a second, there are higher stakes to this. And I think that was something that came along gradually,
right?
Because you start to see like, oh, there's an adjacency to power, and there's, you know, there's real impacts that ideas like this have on people, whether or not like someone's beating up an immigrant because they listen to Alex agitating against immigrants is part of the system that leads to immigrants being harassed, or, you know, deportation drives that sweep up non-white citizens.
Yeah.
And shit. And so like, you know, that became more real to me, and I started to take it more seriously. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't deny that I've always had quite left politics, and you know, it wasn't meant to be a vehicle for like espousing left politics, but I also was never shying away from that. Although you put me next to Jordan, and I don't look all that far left at all.
Well, that's
you know,
okay.
Like, I've spent the better part of the show being called centrist and sort of middle of the road Dan and stuff like that. So
yeah, I don't know if I'd agree that, at least not in the current like a broad notion of where the centrists land. It certainly seems you're far away from where they are. I'm kind of the same. Like I wouldn't have used the word leftist and these labels are all fungible and kind of, all labels are a kind of fence anyway. You sort of just block yourself in with this stuff. But I had no consciousness about socialism or communism, other than I was supposed to be scared of those because I knew my dad would have bristled if he'd heard the word communism. And my politics, I was always very kind of independent thinking and lefty and like progressive, you might have said. I sold my business and I didn't give up stand up, but like I shifted my entire world to move across the country to work for the Young Turks in 2013.
That says something.
That's an indication. Looking back at it now, I have it's given me a really fascinating lens into the whole world of you know, what does progressivism even mean, and you know, and how it relates to where the Young Turks were then and are now, and all kinds of that stuff. That's a huge conversation that's happening on the internet that you know, I've had a very unique perspective on for various ways. But you and I didn't talk about. We weren't like I mean, you know, I wouldn't have even known what to say about using the phrase lefty back then. And actually, partly is the Young Turks is kind of a cul-de-sac. You're not going to get kind of coached towards like worker power and labor rights and genuine like decolonization, you know, those sorts of like things that we really need to do in this world to upend this whole thing. TYT is still a like Cenk is an espoused capitalist, and the way I was treated in the reasons we started the union. Oh, fuck. God damn it. Hold on, Dan. Okay, we're recording, resuming. Technical difficulties there, everybody. My apologies. Fortunately, I had my best friend, Dan Friesen, there. We've been talking about recipes for your favorite gum.
I'm a great baker. People don't know that about me.
Are you a good baker?
No, fuck no. I can't do shit. I can barely make a frozen pizza.
I was such a good baker. I have such good dating skills. We made pizza.
Yeah.
We can make pizza. I'll make you a bread bowl. We'll do homemade chili. We'll watch Star Trek. I'll put on wrist braces for sex.
Did you get into the bread making during the pandemic?
No, back in Chicago. I was bread guy. Yeah,
you're way ahead.
I'm a domestic guy. I think I always sort of tended towards being drunk in public or drunk at home and making bread. No, I wasn't. But no, I like doing. I'm a big kitchen.
Drunk at home.
I was tending towards. I like a home style. I'm a big home guy. My whole deal is I'd be a great house husband. I truly would. I can't do like regular work stuff, but I'll make sure your goddamn car works. I'll fix anything. I'm fun. You know, I'm hilarious. I'll memorize all your favorite recipes and cook your food. I'll eat your pussy on your lunch break. You know, all kinds of good stuff. I want to be a good husband to a coven of polyamorous, witches and stuff, and they can still have sex with their husbands. It'd be great.
It's a great aspiration. I hope you find what you're looking for.
At this point, I don't expect to. I do hope to someday maybe just like live in a barn somewhere, like some like kind person is just like, well, this guy's, he's fine, he's okay.
If I ever have a barn, you could pay me in bread.
I will fix it up so nice. I'll just have a little corner, climb up the stairs. I'll Anyway, let's get back to the show though. Sure. I was going on about the ideological kind of underpinnings of the Young Turks and my own experience with that, and I didn't actually really kind of get plucked out of it until like I started like dialing into Michael Brooks. He had a big influence on me in a lot of ways. Whom I met in Jimmy Dore's garage when he was a guest. I gave him a ride to his sister's house. That's like one of my most proudest moments of the last 14 or 10 years or so. Yeah. I really liked knowing Michael, and we kept in touch on Twitter and stuff. But like I wasn't ever going the kind of information he was talking about from like internationalism, like in socialist concepts and stuff like that, was never going to be delivered via the Young Turks in my sense. And I'm the guy who's made a documentary about the Young Turks for the last so long. So somewhat informed. And yeah, I was going to get into the working conditions and stuff like that. I'm working on a Substack explaining the different job classifications that I was under and the reasons why we started the union. So that's fun. That's fun.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, you want to work here? Okay. Well, you sign this independent contractor's contract, fuckface, and go work for no benefits and no health care. Oh, by the way,
I think unfortunately, a lot of people do shit like that. Unfortunately,
didn't feel good. So yeah, I was like, I think I should get health care. And also, the people I worked with were not called independent contractors, and they got health care. And guess who they are? They're lefties. You hire a bunch of lefties and and then you treat them like shit. Guess what? They're going to start a union. You don't want your employees unionizing, be the Daily Wire.
Right. Have a philosophical opposition to collective bargaining. And then you can do whatever you want.
I know who we could push around. This fucking crazy guy who has no idea, like who's completely clueless of boundaries and believes in the principles that the audience thinks it's paying for. I should have had healthcare. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on see, it's still there. And there's more to that story. Oh, okay. Sorry. Thanks for being part of this, Dan. I just roped you into my bullshit.
Sure.
Man, it's really been hard to get people to pay attention. I want people to be like, "This is a big deal," and I don't know how to do that. I can't quite. Marketing a documentary has been a challenge, and doing it all by myself. So I can see the benefit of a team.
Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like a lot of people have management and various people who have strategies and SEO and all that stuff, and it's all very mysterious to me.
Yep.
But I think that's what normal people do.
Probably something along those lines. Yep. I'm just All right. So, but not to hyper dial in on that. The relationship that we had to take a 5-minute technical problem break, but where I was going with all that. Oh, in terms of conceptualizing my own like politics and as a leftist or as a whatever, working for the Young Turks, working for Jimmy Dore, just having to work in general, having to exist in this world definitely radicalized me. And especially once you start learning the history of all those movements and such. But let's keep it on your area of expertise. Not that you can't comment on that if you don't want to, but go ahead. Do you have a thought? I know you do.
I'll just say, I don't know. Michael Brooks is cool.
Yeah.
Rest
Michael
in
Brooks
peace.
was cool. Oh, yeah. God, that was just such like a. I was watching the show when they ended the show early, and they were just like,
oh yeah,
we gotta stop the show. I was like, oh fuck, that's something. And so yeah,
I am very sad that I never got to interact with or meet him at all, but he did follow me on Twitter, and that always felt like a very big sort of early moment of the the podcast. He was this person that I admired and looked up had somehow paid attention.
Yeah, sure.
That was very nice. That's
satisfying. Yeah. He would even reach out. He'd be like, "Hey, man, it's been a few months." He was like good at that like network kind of thing. Not that he was trying to play some game, but he had a skill that I don't really have.
Yeah.
I just followed up with somebody about doing the podcast, and the last time we communicated on Twitter was 5 years ago about doing the podcast. And so, anyway. R.I.P. our good buddy Michael Brooks. His legacy lives on, but damn it, we need him now more than ever.
Yeah.
Former co-host of Jacobin Show Weekends with Anna Kasparian, who now co-hosts the Jesse Single podcast.
Does she?
She does no. She did guest co-host an episode.
Oh,
recently.
okay.
Yeah, they talked a lot about how the activists are inhibiting the ability for police to do their jobs. So
fair point.
Boy. One thing's going to get it out of this mess. It's just we got to get some more police going. We really got to dial up the state violence in order to solve all these issues in the world, don't we?
Yep.
Not the mischaracterizing.
Activists holding back police. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
She's been upfront about her ideological shift that she's been going through, and not I don't want to mischaracterize it. That's not fair.
Sure. I've not followed all that incredibly closely, so
Well, just to wrap,
I don't know a whole lot.
Since I did bring it up. Blocked and Reported is the podcast she's on with Katie Herzog, and they talk about it a lot. So I'm just going to direct the audience to listen to that episode and she's very upfront about some of the stuff. So yeah, that's all.
Cool.
Not my story to tell. I already feel weird having her in the documentary about the union busting and stuff. So that's I don't want to. She's not the CEO, but she was whatever. He misled everybody.
She figured into some stuff, and as I recall from what I watched of your documentary,
she played a very important role, very strong role, and she failed at her journalistic responsibility. So, like, I'm calling her out for stuff, but still, the point of it is that she wouldn't have had to do that if the person in charge had been honest.
Right.
Thus the name "Tell the Truth," Cenk. Yeah. So, well, what else we get? Oh, so okay. Sorry, we're a little bit disheveled here. Back to so Alex Jones's audience, you see this as a guy, and it activates your curiosity, and you have this inquisitiveness, and you clearly know how to look stuff up and assess BS and ascertain if something is trustworthy source or not here and there. I'm sure anybody doing this kind of thing over many years might get something wrong here and there too. We can't always be completely sure that our sources are perfect, but his audience doesn't do that.
No.
But why is he so popular? What accounts for that? And what is it about the kind of people in America? And I don't mean this in any pejorative sense, but we are just looking for entertainment and showmanship, and Alex is very good at that part of it. He's clearly got some talent at broadcasting. Michael Brooks used to say he's the best broadcaster he's ever seen. I think he used to say comments like that, kind of tongue in cheek. But
you can think that until you watch 2 hours of him. If you watch just the little clips that people put out, like that would be on Media Matters and stuff, you would think like this guy is dynamite. But then you see it in its fuller context, and like you see him repeating the same shit over and over again, rambling, filling time, and all this. Like, this guy's not as good of a broadcaster as I thought he was.
Okay.
He comes off really entertaining and competent in small bursts, but he's not that good. He's overrated, I would say.
Well, there's kind of a charisma that comes with just being a kind of a shit show too, right? Like,
yeah.
That's sort of a thing. You know, you kind of can't look away. You're like, oh fuck, keep your eye on that
Mhm.
guy. But so anyway, the question though, like, how does an audience form for that? What do you think they're getting out of it? I mean, and you don't even have to answer that super precisely. Just talk about the audience is kind of what I'm getting you to.
Well, I don't know too much because, like, honestly, we have been incredibly insulated from any of Alex's audience. Like, it's weird. We've been doing this show for 8 years, and like, no one attacks us. No one, like, sometimes people have called into InfoWars and asked Alex to address us, and he'll just hang up on them.
Okay.
His lawyer mentioned us in court. Like, he told the courts that they couldn't get somebody from the company to be the corporate representative because the corporate representatives kept getting made fun of too much, so no one would do it. Like, it's crazy. But the audience is kept from us, I believe, or the awareness of us is minimized because I think that there is a like, we're not corporate, we're not mainstream media, we're not mad, we're not just like responding out of like knee-jerk anger about him, you know. And so, like, I think that there is a danger that exposing the audience to us would have. And so because of that, and because we don't look for a fight, we're not like trying to post all over social media and try and get like engagement bait going and stuff like that. So for the most part, I have very little engagement with Alex's audience.
Right. Okay.
But from what I've watched, I think that there's a number of aspects. One of them is a desire to be iconoclastic. And I think that everybody wants to think that they have access to the real truth that other people don't have. And Alex allows you to feel like you have that. So, you know, so much of his career is based on shit like 9/11's an inside job, you know, that ball rolling from there. He knows what's going on behind the scenes and all this. And he allows you to give a pretend intellectualism to it. Like, he has the sources, so you don't need them. He has all the white papers and the secret documents and all this stuff. And so you can pretend that there is like a more concrete grounding to your desire to just be opposed to what the mainstream thinks and stuff like that. So he allows that. That's one thing. Another thing is that he, like, you know, no one wants to be a fucking Democrat or a Republican. No one wants to be a simple branded political idea. You want to be above the left-right paradigm, you know? And Alex allows you to feel like you're that. He allows you to pretend that you transcend like this sort of two-sided politics, when in reality, all he is super far to the right of the GOP. Like, he's just
right.
Like, and because he hated Bush and was very like on the record about that, like, because he was someone who would scream about Bush doing 9/11 and what have you, he has like some built-in credibility that allows you to feel like if you're following him, you're not like a super right-winger. You're not even definable by the terms of our politics.
I used to be. Now I listen to Alex Jones. Yeah.
Right. And it's an illusion that he allows people to have about themselves. And he makes you feel good and feel like those things are more based in something solid, as opposed to just angry, not paying attention, right-wing zealot.
Who is also so like the two things. Okay, so the selling stuff. I mean, that's a huge percentage of the show is just like cutting to. You guys will cover that occasionally, where there's these hilarious pivots to just hawking some product. It's really a telemarketing operation more than almost anything else. I mean, that's what funds the whole deal, right? And that's a big source of his wealth. And yeah. But before we get to that, though, like I recall just listening to you just now, like him using that technique of like, we're going to play this later on the show. Like he always offers up that he's got the evidence. We're going to play the video. We're going to play the audio. We're going to read the article. And it never materializes. He's just generating these fictions on the fly when he does that thing, correct?
Generally, or
I mean, he might have some headline he read that's 10 years old and badly sourced, but yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly it. Like, generally what he'll have is a headline.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be a headline from his own website or a headline from Gateway Pundit or something like that, that mischaracterizes a story. And then he writes an entire story based on the dubious headline. Or even if it isn't a headline from like CNN or the Wall Street Journal, it'll be some like op-ed or sort of, I don't know, clickbait-ish written headline that he then editorializes on. And that's what you get to eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I think is really telling is that like lately he's been talking a lot about how the sources of his information are things like predictive programming, which means that he watched movies. So he watched science fiction movies and he thinks the globalists are sending him messages.
Yeah.
And then dreams. Like he has prophetic dreams. And like so much of the shit, if you end up like tracing it down, there's fucking movies he watched or science fiction he read as a kid, dreams, his own imagination, and mischaracterized headlines are almost always what everything traces back to. Or there's documents sometimes, but they're still, misrepresented.
Yeah.
Things like Operation Northwoods and stuff like that.
It's just interesting that his audience views him as a credible source, but they don't assess credibility based on what would be like a kind of a general non-ideological notion that you should at least have a good faith effort to be able to back up your claims either with data, with research, with historical analysis, or even if your opinions are fine too. But like they don't care that he will have a different opinion one week to the next, or that the stories will any of this stuff. But what do they think? What makes him credible then? Just the confidence,
the feeling.
Yeah,
the feeling.
Yeah,
that's all you want. You want the feeling. He gives you the feeling. He gives you the feeling and the permission to hold ideas that society tells you it's wrong to have, like hating immigrants, hating trans and non-binary people, hating gay people. Like having those opinions are generally looked down upon by most of society. And Alex gives you permission to hold those feelings. And I think that a lot of people appreciate that.
Yeah, I think
that's a part of it.
Sure. Yeah, I see that kind of personality type as sort of like almost like they're wizard casters. Like it's sort of just that spell that he's broadcasting out there. Like Stephen Colbert at one of his earlier Colbert Report way back, where he said like I'm not going to tell you the news. I'm going to feel the news at you. But like I'm feeling the news through the camera. And also Americans and people generally trust what's on screen more than they necessarily like. We give too much credit to, well, if they're on a camera and they're on they wouldn't be lying to me. I'm not a person who falls for lies too, by the way. And I also have a huge foundation of childhood trauma, so I probably have some weird connections to aggressive men, aggressive daddy issues and stuff like that. That's probably underpinning some of this. I don't know. What do you think?
We were talking about that just on I think the last episode that we put out was that Alex without his studio would be assessed very differently. Right. If he didn't have his really expensive studio, it tricks you into thinking that there's this professionalism behind it. When in reality, if you saw somebody saying the things that he says, you'd be like, I gotta go.
Right.
Because or even imagine, but this is where that theory and what I'm saying falls apart. Because imagine, I don't know, Anderson Cooper talking about how he's reporting based on his dreams or something like that.
Yeah.
No one would put up with that.
Yeah, I had a dream about the Vanderbilts. That's my Anderson Cooper joke because he's literally a Vanderbilt. That's the weird comedy there. Yeah,
and he's CIA.
Anderson Cooper.
And his nose disappeared during a Sandy Hook interview, according to Alex. But maybe he doesn't believe that anymore. But maybe he does.
Oh, his nose. Okay, yeah. Throughout history, go ahead.
He was saying that he was not in Connecticut. He was in front of a green screen. That was the nose disappeared.
Oh, I see. So the key it keyed out his nose. So like your microphone kind of does too when you hold it up like that. That's okay. Yeah. Oh, they're gone. Oh my God, it's a conspiracy. Someone
I'm not really
Jordan.
On a beach.
What? You lied to me.
Sorry.
Then who did I see drown? What if the Zoom video had that happening?
That would be upsetting.
I'd be like, that's a real. Oh fuck.
Especially since it's a very short loop, so you would constantly be seeing someone drown.
I think, dude, we're up to 14 dudes by now. Or it would be funny if Zoom videos were like little movies, like a whole rescue operation happened back behind you, and then they fell in love and got married and had kids.
Sure.
Yeah, the dream sourcing and the movies. I was just listening to today's episode. By the way, thanks for telling Jordan to put his mic down. I have issues with noise, and I was like, oh, I love when Dan is looking out for his misophonia and his highly sensitive listeners. On behalf of all of them, I say thank you. Thank you.
Sometimes it's about to just like there's going to be a subtle moment here that you're not going to be able to pick up on if we're laughing over it or whatever. So
yeah. And I extend my thanks to Jordan as well, as I know he cares too. I know he understands because we hung out. I don't know if I ever met Jordan in Chicago, but I definitely know the personality type, and I mean that in a good way. Impulsive, funny, smart guy. That's
We just were in Toronto, and Sam Norton, another comic that we performed with back in the day and stuff. He lives there, and he came out. And he thought he'd never met Jordan, but then realized he had. I imagine it's probably the same with you. You probably crossed paths at some point.
Yeah. I probably gave him a shitty introduction at Three Dead Moose once or twice.
Yeah, probably.
So movies, though, in today's episode, he referred to Natalie Portman's Oblivion and Species as a movie, and I'm not even full the way through the episode. So
Natalie Portman's Oblivion.
What did I say? I said that. What?
Yeah.
What's the Oblivion? What movie? No, not Oblivion. You guys did mention. I think you mentioned.
No, Oblivion is the movie that he talks about. I just never heard it referred to as Natalie Portman's Oblivion.
Annihilation. Is Natalie Portman in Oblivion? I've confused us all. Isn't that the
I
one
don't
Tom
remember.
Cruise?
I think it's Tom Cruise.
Annihilation is Natalie Portman.
Okay, I haven't seen Annihilation.
I really fucked up this.
He definitely talks about Oblivion. He loves Oblivion. He thinks it's one of the most important movies ever made.
Okay, that's the one then. And that's Tom Cruise's sci-fi kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's
about water and shit, right? I think.
It's a lot of wide shots with like open landscapes, kind of like Blade Runner 2049 or something.
I saw it a long time back. I need to rewatch Oblivion. Clearly,
I'm down to rewatch it. I enjoyed your Dune series too. I actually just watched Dune and part of Dune 2, so no spoiler. But this week, so I'm going to get through it soon. But you guys inspired me to get to finally watch it, and I'm quite enjoying it now that I'm watching it with subtitles because I understand what the fuck they're saying. Mumbly,
it was an interesting experience.
Whisper people, but
such a blind spot for me.
Dune. Now, what is Dune's? So this is a broader question, but what is Dune's connection to? Does Alex Jones reference Dune a lot, and also like what are his favorite movies? So we've got Oblivion, we've got Species. I know he just will talk about The Matrix, I think probably, and like he'll just reference movies as if. But he couches his description of a film as being some kind of almost literal thing that's happening.
Yeah, so he believes in the globalists have a law that they have to follow, like a spiritual, interdimensional, free will, God, demon type law, that they have to tell you what they're doing to you before they do it, because otherwise they're violating your free will. So it's kind of like if the city has to post a sign that like we're gonna do street cleaning on this day or whatever. It has the same kind of idea with the globalists. Okay. So they weave these things into movies to tell you what they're doing to you, so that you can't claim that you didn't have a warning, right? So this is his magical thinking about how movies are talking to him. So almost all movies that you can imagine may have some kind of little magical clue if you're smart enough to read through the lines.
Right. That explains why I crawled my way around a bunch of construction sites after watching Baby's Day Out.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Mantegna and his band of hapless fellows, mishaps on the way finding me. Sorry.
I wish I had a Drill Bit Taylor reference to make, but I haven't seen it. I just remember the poster.
I don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
It's an Owen Wilson movie.
Oh, yeah. No.
Forgettable.
Or
Grown Ups 3.
Unknowable.
Very predictive. So I find it to be one of the most infuriating things about like his branch of information and engagement with culture, because for one, it deprives artists of their own messaging and like whatever the intent of their pieces actually are, you're robbing them and your audience of experiencing that. And I think that sucks. And then second, it's just such a stupid game. You can come up with whatever you want and pretend that it's predictive of, like, oh yeah, COVID happened and they told us all about it in Outbreak, or whatever. Great. Force your connections wherever you want. It just happens over and over again.
Yeah,
it's
and
just dumb.
It's making use of like cultural connective tissue that's not real, but also in a sense like it's like the implantation of the concept has already been done by the Hollywood effort to get the movie out, by the business that makes movies and you know the culture that puts out movies. So he's just like tapping into things like people like him seem to do stuff like that very well, where they're able to like, thread it through the different news stories or whatever celebrity gossip is going on, perhaps as well, and
he has a storyteller bone in him, and that's the thing that's a little bit frustrating, and that's he's able to weave those pieces together like you're saying, and that is a little annoying. But I think especially with the movie shit, it's like one of the other effects that it has that it really bothers me is that like it allows you to accept that level of information as like confirming something, like they sent a secret message in a movie is a piece of evidence that you're using to establish a conclusion. And I think that if you allow yourself to have that level of rigor, it trains you to just accept whatever, and it leaves you pretty vulnerable to other people saying that other things from movies are real and shit like that. It's annoying. Yeah,
that's a great point. Yeah, it's like the credits. That's what's going to be on the credits at the bottom of the page. Is just some freaking movie. I was going to do this. Let's go. Can I get like some not updates, but like I wanted to. Something I think your show might benefit from is like a glossary or a sort of not a full rehearse. When you heard that, you probably thought about doing like several, months of writing a stacky. By the way, check out Dan's Stacky. What's it called? Stacky.stacky? Substack?
The Stackies, I think. Yeah. I need to get better at posting on there. I'm irregular.
Your show takes 40 hours a week. I mean, you're working a shit ton. You're putting in a lot of hours. So don't beat yourself up about having to, you're trying to follow through on a whole nother project that takes a tremendous amount of effort. So give yourself a break on that one.
But now I need a glossary.
Yes, but that said, no, but as a newer listener myself, right? Like I kind of came in for a long time. I was like, who the fuck is Celine? What's this? What's he always talking about? And I finally figured out that it's your cat. And that's cute and adorable and all that. But like, it'd be nice if there was sort of something that kind of got people up to speed. And because here's my judgment as a professional video producer, Dan. Sometimes you guys make references to things that I'm a little lost about, where I'm just like, I don't know what that is. And there's a familiarity that you assume may be in the fly. And I think every person who has a show like this might do that too anyway. But so just the occasional kind of check-in for the new listeners, just to like an onboarding pamphlet to be like, here's some of the basics. And now it's a little bit easier for you to kind of keep up with us.
Well,
you may end the call now that I've fixed your
First
show.
of all, I appreciate the feedback, and that is probably smart. I'm resistant to it because I don't want to make the show more accessible. Honestly,
fair.
I think that maybe it's not a good thing to be listening to. Like, I think that Alex sucks, and there's a positive way that we can present his material, but I don't want to do things that chase like the larger audience and stuff like that.
Right.
And because I think that if you find this and you enjoy it, good. But I don't know. I think I like it that maybe someone would be confused and be like, I'll listen to something else.
Well, yes. I mean, it should be clear I'm talking about getting people onboarding your show, not like Alex's show. But you're saying that would also sort of serve a purpose of kind of opening up that vein in the other direction. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I just have some insecurities and anxieties about like what effect can Alex have even if presented in a positive lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a part of me that like I wrestle with that maximizing the audience or reach of our show could in some ways have the effect of exposing Alex to more people. And that's something that I don't know what the right answer is to that. And so,
I
don't know. I kind of
keep it in the academic realm, not the dramatization.
I'm kind of walking a middle range of that. It's like I won't go out of my way to like destroy the reach of our show, but at the same time won't go out of my way to be like, everyone should listen to this. Let's promote this.
Well, it's
you know?
clearly working, honestly. Like, you're doing great. You have a really, sounds like a cool audience. I check out their Reddit sometimes. It's amazing to see this like active, bubbling conversation of people having, and they're, and then you end up with, you're probably even at the level where there's these little bit curious, I don't mean that in a good way, parasocial relationships starting to develop. And that's this kind of not symptom, but that's a side effect or a sign of things working for a career that's public facing, such as anyone who sets out to be a stand-up comedian or some kind of radio or podcaster. But also it seems like one of those things that I've had the smallest tastes of it a little bit here and there when Suck Professor, this other YouTube channel I did, was doing pretty well and whatever. Nothing close to your thing, but the point being though that my advice isn't going to improve or you're doing great. It's all working fine. In fact, just having a little bit of that stuff feeling a kind of esoteric and like, because it wasn't like a barrier I couldn't cross. It was just more something I was like, I just wish I understood these things a little bit more clearly when they talk about them. As a newer listener. But
I even think about that when it's like we start every show asking, what's your bright spot? And like, I would like to be like, we started this because the COVID pandemic and everyone was really depressed and stuck inside their houses, and we wanted to try and have something that was good going on in our lives. And now it is years later, and we continue doing it. But explaining it feels like, I
don't think every time. No, that's crazy. Not even close to every time at all.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. I wouldn't change a thing about the way you guys start.
Okay.
I would add like a fun cat meow.
Meow.
People love those. Yeah. No, actually, I find those really distressing.
Whenever Celine's around, I definitely try and poke her and get her on mic, but she's a little shy.
Yeah, sure. I get it. I understand. She must be an Alex Jones fan. Probably just really upset, just living the world's worst POV. Okay, well then
fucking
I guess
hates foreign aid. She can't stand the idea of us giving our tax dollars.
Yeah, she wants to crack down on the border. Then I won't ask you what's the Bretton Woods, what's the Bilderberg Group, what's the World Economic Forum, who is Roger Stone, who is Owen Shroyer, who is Chase Geiser, who is Elon Musk, who is globalists, who is O.J. Simpson, and who is Jesus. Because that's what
you
I wrote
don't know
on
who
my
Roger
notes.
Stone is.
I do.
Okay,
but like
it makes sense to not know who Chase Geiser is. That is fine. But here's the thing,
though.
I love this obscure nonsense because like we were in New York and we did a show and we got an applause break for the name Marty Schachter.
Yeah.
No one knows who the fuck that is. He's a guy who used to be a soap sponsor on Alex's show. And our audience knows him because every time he'd come on, he would make Alex listen to a limerick. And it's hilarious.
Okay.
And so, you see the name Marty Schachter in public and no one's going to even respond at all.
Right.
But our listeners are going to, woohoo, Marty Schachter.
That's an applause break for your.
Yeah. I like the idea of that. It's like these completely obscure nonsense things are recognizable in this.
Okay. I think that's fair. I honestly, you persuaded me. I actually think I will withdraw my suggestions. And I don't know what the Builder. I just want to know what.
You know what the Bilderberg Group is?
Well, I just want to hear you explain it, but that's fine. You can hold off.
But we did on like an old episode.
That's my point. Is that I don't have time for 700 fucking episodes. I did go back and listen to a few, and but no, I
wrestle with that too. It's too much content to not have things isolated somewhere, and I probably should do that. And that's a great project that I'd like to do to make it more digestible.
Sure.
And I tried to make a wiki at some point, and it's just too daunting a job.
Yeah.
And then someone else did. So there is a wiki somewhere.
Okay.
And so that's when I decided I was going to stop pursuing that end was when, well, there already some listener made one.
Okay.
So
fair.
It's there. I don't know if it explains everything, but I don't know what there is to know about Chase Geiser, honestly.
Probably not much. wasn't expecting a detailed. You could just say co-host. That's all. I know that's what he is, but he's got his guys around him, and there's been different characters that show up throughout the years, and
that is true.
Yeah, that's okay. Who is Jesus, though? Who is Jesus in Alex's life? And this relates also to the sales part that I wanted to talk about too, because he really wears his Christianity. He really hypes up the God thing, even though he's tapped into the ethereal sourcing of all kinds of cosmic insights, not just from the movies that he watches or the dreams that he has, but he also sources it all back to our Heavenly Father, the large penis God up in heaven, and his main son Jesus. God doesn't have a small penis.
Interesting that's the description you were going with, the primary description. Big old dick.
God is all, it's about gender. Heaven is all about gender restrictions and gender strictness and being very clear about who has what genitals. That's the whole point of being in a religion.
And I think Alex would agree with you there. I think that's something you two would not get into a fight over.
Yeah. They have very clear bathrooms, and it's just one, and it's just God's mouth, and you piss in his mouth.
I personally am not religious. I know. I have a gravitation towards it a little bit. You know, I'm drawn to the spiritual and the religious a little bit more than. So I don't like to call myself an atheist because of that, because I have this draw that I feel. But I was brought up religious. And
religious, right? You were in a goofy one.
Goofy-ish. My dad's parents were Mennonite, and then when we moved to Missouri, we ended up in a sort of evangelical Baptist church that was a little nuts.
Yeah.
But like I'm offended by Alex's religiousness from the perspective of formerly being religious. I know that my parents are still Christian, and they have a faith, and on their behalf I'm offended by him and what he does,
right?
Because it's so over the top. It's too much. I get it if you're somebody who's like, God is my rock and my power, and all of this, that I don't have any qualms with. I don't really think you can justify a lot of stuff with religion that I'm opposed to, and I think that's a little dirty. But Alex thinks like God literally gives him magic powers and tells him things beforehand, like made him psychic. God literally chose him to fight the literal devil. And it's just like if what he's saying is to be taken seriously at all, like we need a new Council of Nicaea. We need a new Bible. Like this, it's not enough what we have. The books of the Bible are incomplete if they don't include Alex Jones. And to me, I think that's a little bit sacrilegious, and I don't know, that part of me that gravitate towards religion a little or respects it a little bit is like, fuck you, man.
Does he consider himself a prophet of a sort, or does he just think that he's transmitting information from some other thing? Or because like the only way I can sound intelligent is just to suggest the book Under the Banner of Heaven by John Krakauer about the Mormon faith, starting with the fundamentalist Mormons, and then he kind of bookends it around this murder, and then he sort of gets through the entire history of the Mormon religion, with the thesis being that the origination of any religion requires a persecution, but also like there's a creativity that has to be present at the origin of the religion, that also has to be suppressed in order to make the religion kind of take root and to settle into its books and into its whatever the right. I'm sure there's some proper better word for that. But Alex seems to be using it as a cudgel, or not cudgel, as a sales tool, I guess, is kind of where I sort of how it seems to me that he's just sort of tapping into the America's overall, especially his audiences and the right wing kind of side of the world, that propensity to defer to the hierarchy that is kind of like baked into certain types of religious presentation. Is he sincere? What does that even mean? I don't know.
Right, exactly. What does it even mean? Like that's the part that, even as much as I spend time on this, and as long as I've spent on it, you don't know what lurks in the heart of a person.
Right.
Like I can definitely get indications that I don't believe that his motivation is fully sincere and fully religiously based, but I also don't necessarily think that it's fully crass and commercial and he's just exploiting this. I think that there is a mixture of the two. Like, whatever it is, there's the like using it as a financial weapon, but then there's also some sort of personal power that he gets out of it. You know, like there is a need to be the other or the above other people in a way that, like, I was chosen, I'm special, I'm unique. And I think that whatever's driving that, I think there's some sincerity to, if I had to psychoanalyze it. But how much does it connect to actual, like, what I understand to be Christian faith? Not a ton.
Right.
What scares me about what you're saying, though, is that it resonates a little bit in that, like, the beginning of a religion having like this creative thing that's pressed and shit, like, makes me, my mind just started wandering a little bit about, like, we could honestly be at the beginning of, like, what ends up being another religion. Like, there's no rule that says a religion can't sprout right now,
No, really, like, I think Trump is that. I think I can imagine a world where in 500 years they're looking back and they've got some kind of symbology. It might. I think it will, like, linger, if not in small little, tiny little steeples. What are they called? Buildings, churches, like little tiny, because there's this fountain. There's just such a variety of religious expression in this world, in this country, particularly. We're kind of the narcissism of hyper consumerism and the selfishness and the lack of meaning in so much of the atomized lives that the capitalist world forces on us, and the community that we're deprived of. So we're able to draw people into feelings of community. Sometimes that's pretty good for a lot of religious experience, and oftentimes, though, that's pretty manipulative and bad. But I don't necessarily think that our world is going to smooth out those wrinkles. I wish we would. I wish the religion or the kind of like experience of community becomes something where we get rid of the concept of work and change it to something along the terms of community and service to community. Strengthening our friends and neighbors means that we're always strengthening each other, and we get to just only work like 4 months out of a fucking year, and you don't have to work that much, and we don't have the billionaire. We're not plagued by wealth the way that we are in this world, because they're harvesting our souls so that they can keep money away from us, and they're all fucking monsters. And then we have to slay the final god of money and borders.
Sure.
So there you go. That's how I ask questions. But the community, the Trumpian kind of ferocity, because he, what I see in that is these people are so unaccustomed to anybody speaking and seeming to fight on your behalf. I think that's primarily what the MAGA loyalty comes from, is this, childhood trauma base. I would apply that to the whole spectrum, but this notion that someone in power is lying on your behalf. They're fighting on your behalf. They're
not out to get me. They're just trying to get through me to get to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And look what they're doing now. Now we're persecuted, and Trump is being prosecuted literally. But it all feeds into the narrative and the creativity that's inherent. The only kind of mitigating factor is that we have it all on video. Like the archival kind of like a video itself is sort of this is why, like, we should kind of have like YouTube is a archaeology site as much as anything. It's every single year it's a layer of human culture, at least in some degree. It's the pottery shards, you might say. Boy, it just sounded so smart, man. I gotta start dating again. And
well, it certainly was a loss to like a bank of information when Alex was kicked off YouTube. Like, there are a lot of things that were on there that he didn't post other places.
Right.
So that archaeological record was,
was erased.
It was limited. Yeah,
limited or got removed.
Some stuff you might be able to find other places, but some of those like special reports and stuff that he would do, those, I don't think you can find those anywhere. Like a lot of the stuff that was on his channel. So like that was a loss.
Yeah, that's the other side of it too. Is like the digital storage just means you either have to pay for the electricity to run data centers to keep the stuff there and to transmit it when people look for it, or it goes away, right? You still have to maintain that, and maybe the ecology doesn't sustain this kind of thing too, which is like something that we have to get our heads around on this planet. I know there's like, this is totally not something we need to get into, but like Martin Scorsese was involved with like preserving and restoring old reel-to-reel footage because there's all these giant old piles of old tapes that no one's watched in 40 years, and that shit degrades over time, and they're trying to like save as much of it as they can. So that notion applies to YouTube. But anyway, back to and not just YouTube, but the internet itself. So like, what's it going to be like in 400 or 500 years? Is they're going to be able to look back on all these people's photos and lives and things, if it's all still there? We're just kind of presuming that it's available and somehow accessible. But I think with Trump, like it probably helps avoid like Bill Burr made this joke about L. Ron Hubbard, that like the problem with him is that we have video. Like you can see this like shitty old guy with gross teeth rambling, and if he didn't have video of him, and he still managed to get a cult going and get Scientology launched, and I think he's one of the most interesting people in our last many years. But
he's a weirdo.
But yeah, total weirdo. Yeah, total. And I would like to start a religion. Pizza ovens for a polyamorous cult that lives in all and I just fix everybody's fix the sink when it breaks and stuff, but I still get to do my podcast. And my wives are all...
That's the American dream.
Yeah.
It's not too much to ask.
Yeah.
It's the new white picket fence and 2-car garage.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the pizza oven per wife.
What you're saying, I think, is fair. Like that we have video, and that's limiting. But also, like, that's what I think is so, like, I think smart about what Alex does and the way he conceptualizes his religious stuff. And that is that, like, Trump is not the focus of it. He would be like a saint or something like that, but he's not like the God or whatever. And I think that's smart because, you know, the imperfect men are turned into vehicles for God. You know, God historically and in the Bible doesn't choose the most pious person. The people who have flaws are often the most powerful vessels for God's work and stuff. And so you can easily see, like, look at Trump, he's a big fucking asshole idiot. See this video and be like, yes, but from the great depths.
Yeah. He ushered in the era of this such and such epic of history, because that's what it is. It's the revisionism that kind of flows through, like a game of telephone. I mean, we experience it in real time on a road trip to Six Flags Great America with our buddies. You know, driving to DeKalb. We experienced that. Do you remember that show we did in DeKalb? That guy pissed his pants or pissed on the floor, and I said something to him, and he just looked at me, and I stopped talking to him. I was like, I'm not even going to try. There's nothing funny. He's out of
one of the great nights of stand-up career is both of those nights at DeKalb. I think you were along for one of them, but me and Matt Riggs did both, and I think Hogan might have done both.
Yeah. I remember driving back. Will Miles might have been there. Yeah, that was good. I didn't get a lot. Sorry to just totally shift it all over to comedy, but I didn't get out a lot. I wasn't doing a ton of road stuff as I wish I had. I'd performed in Madison once and DeKalb a couple times, and I did a casino show in Indiana.
Well, I mean, if you go out and somebody pisses their pants in the crowd, you've done as much as you need to do. You know, like that counts for 10.
Yeah,
I think.
Yes, good lesson in and like I could only see the piss because it was the glare.
It was a puddle.
Light. It was a puddle underneath them.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a whole like spread.
I think I went up after you.
I remember saying, I don't know what. Yeah, it's fine.
Tough night.
We
all did okay though.
It was fun. You know, we're fine. We're all just, I mean, anything outside of Chicago is always kind of like, oh, these fucking people laugh at anything. Jesus Christ. This is fucking easy. We're Chicago comedians.
I made this guy piss.
Yeah. My joke was so funny. This guy's lost his bladder. Yeah. Your challenge should have been to get the rest out of him, you know,
or get it back in.
Ooh, whoa, a little proboscis. Yeah, God, I just stepped off the wrong timeline. I feel like I would have evolved into a pretty good regional comedian in the Midwest. That would have been that was my destiny.
That might have been a generational thing though too. Like that path by the time that we were doing it is quite a bit more limited than it was maybe 15, 20 years prior.
Probably, yeah. That's fair. All right. Well, I think we could wrap up a little bit unless you want to comment more on the American Christo-Trumpian religion that's going to form out of American society in and the increasingly fractured, balkanized corporate fiefdoms surrounding freshwater locations. That's what's going to happen. As it's going to be like the nation of Sony, the nation of Disney, and these things are going to be, which,
and they're all going to be too woke.
Which one do you subscribe to? Yeah, they'll be a little too woke. Yep. What do you think woke means? What's your definition? Do you have a definition?
I don't.
Okay. I do have a definition.
I have some feelings about the way people use the term, but I don't have a definition. Let's say.
I know. It's a yeah. Not to take, okay, I'll just say it since I'm sure people are on the edge of their seats. To me, it means it's used by people to indicate a crack in the structure of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Something indicating a blemish upon the hierarchy of white supremacy.
I think that's a pretty useful definition.
Like, oh my God, it's woke. Or, oh, gee, I'm not being woke enough. I'm not properly being what I don't want to be, which is fair to other people.
Yeah. If you branch that out into white, cis, heterosexual, male supremacy, like all of those angles kind of come into it.
Indeed.
But yeah.
Fair enough. Woke. Are you, and then we'll kind of this will sort of be a dual question about survival bunkers and preparing for the imminent doom. Like no matter what we do with our politics, we are all just waiting to find out which certain doom takes everybody out. We have multiple certain dooms looming.
Fucking optimistic and wonderful. I appreciate that that you striking that note.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This is how I am.
I just wanted to talk about Chase Geyser.
Yeah. Well, geysers might even be erupting when the super volcano takes over. And that'll be one
geyser is going to chase you.
Yeah. Okay, pay your subscription or we'll launch a super volcano. Okay, fuck faces. So all these certain dooms are looming. The wealthy are putting on their parachutes to get out of the plane that they're flying. I think that's a sign we have to rearrange things, is when the people in charge are trying to escape the calamities that they're causing, either via becoming computers themselves into the singularity or launching themselves into space, escaping into survival bunkers, prepping. But this connects to our story here because prepping is a big part of Alex's thing, right? The getting ready to fight your neighbors and build your fortress. So, and he sells a lot of prepper goods. And in a broader sense, we started this conversation, or I mean, I brought this up earlier. He just sells shit. He sells all kinds of fucking stuff. It's crazy how much the guy makes off of selling stuff, and his audience buys a lot of stuff. So now your turn to talk.
I'm not sure what the question was. I guess well, I mean, like, obviously, this is something that we've wrestled with in the past, and that is, that some amount of prepper shit is not crazy. Like,
no, it's rational.
I lived in Missouri when I was younger, and there were always a constant threat of tornadoes. Right. And so in the basement, my parents had like some water and some canned foods, that's kind of stuff, just in case there was a tornado and we needed to eat for a day or something like that.
Yeah, of course.
That kind of stuff is not really that wild of kind of, it's a pretty rational,
I'd say,
thing
it's responsible.
Yeah, especially if you have kids and you prepare for the worst. Have a battery or a crank radio.
Right.
That's really old. I guess you don't need that now, but you know what I mean.
Solar.
And Alex just exploits that to the nth degree. You just take that very rational and sort of, hey, couldn't hurt to have some water around. And it's like, your family will die if you don't have a year's worth of food in these buckets.
Right.
And it's like, all right, you're just exploiting that fear, that insecurity.
So what are some of the product categories then? Not just about prepper stuff, but so preppers would be its own. He sells silver and gold and like that kind of thing.
He had for years and years, there was the Midas Resources, which is a company run by a guy named Ted Anderson. Mm-hmm. He had Ted Anderson also owned Genesis Communications Network that syndicated Alex's radio show. So they worked together hand in glove, essentially, in that Midas needed people to advertise their gold and Genesis needed sponsors. So they served each other's interests. And Alex was obviously the most popular person pushing this gold. constantly have people on talking about how the dollar was going to collapse and how you needed this gold, and they were artificially keeping the prices of gold down. And any day now, gold was going to go through the roof, and you'll see. And so he did that for a long time, and then Ted got in trouble with the law because he was being all scammy, and he lost his license to sell precious metals, and so he kind of was away. But Alex has recently got another guy, so he found a new guy, so he's doing that again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gold and silver precious metal sales that are back. There's the pills. There's
so it's like cognitive pill stuff, like brain improvement, sort of Joe Rogan.
It's everything.
Oh,
everything. So Roger, this is our last clip here.
Yeah.
And it's because this moment is perfect.
Okay, it's just perfect.
Nothing could be better than this. Nothing could say more about Alex, InfoWars, spirituality, religion, all of it.
I think you're right. And by the way, this is an act with Roger. He was brought up Christian and believed in God, but I was the same way, brought up Christian, believed in God, but it wasn't until I was in a crisis. They say there's no atheist in a foxhole, that I really had to call on God and saw what God's done miraculously. And so, Roger, we didn't pre-plan this, but I hope you'll lead us in prayer, talk about the power of God, pray for Trump, pray for America, pray for world peace, and then tell people how they can find your show and the great work you do.
I'm going to do one thing before I do that. Brain force, folks. This is how I'm able to join you today. This is how I have the energy to do this show. I'm putting in ridiculous hours. I'm not getting much sleep. I'm working like a dog.
Oh, no, I talk at midnight our time, 1 a.m. your time, and then we're talking at 6 a.m. You're sleeping 4 hours. So, sorry, go ahead.
So the great supplements, also your nitrous oxide product, I can't recall the name.
Nitric Boost.
Yes, great. These are both great products. By the way, I don't get paid for anything for saying this. Alex didn't ask me to say anything about this. I'm just telling you the truth. These two great products, Brain Force and Nitric Boost, really turbocharge my workday. They give you mental clarity, but you don't have that crash that you get, with the energy drinks that have, ephedrine in them. So I recommend both of them to you. It helps keep the InfoWars operation running. You're right. With all of these stories, people stop buying things. Now's not the time to stop, folks. Now's the time to place your order. Let me say that. All right. Let me wrap this up in just a moment of prayer.
Classy. That's perfect. There's nothing. I'm blown away by the existence of a moment like that. It seems like something that you would cautiously avoid doing if you were someone who is trying to pass yourself off as like someone who has a really sincere coming to God type story with, I found God because of the, being wrongly imprisoned before Trump freed me. If you're really trying to sell that, you would probably really, really avoid something like this. The image, the appearance of this it makes your faith seem so superficial and so shallow and a performance. That it almost seems like parody of religiousness.
Yeah. I grew up, reading the Bible, and I believed it. Right. So, like a few years later, when I found out, because it took a while, but when I found out that Christianity read that thing where Jesus went and was like, hey, money changer, get the fuck out of this temple. Christianity was like, don't be so mean to those money changers. Jesus, stop it. It really confused me.
That's the vibe I'm getting here.
Yeah, it's very confused me that the entire religion has turned on Jesus.
I don't think the entire religion has, but there are these malign actors and malign influences that definitely miss the point. And there may be a lot. There may be a lot of folks who kind of miss the point.
Like what? Will it make me better at dating? Will it make me more attractive to potential
why not
pizza friends?
Yeah, take a Nitric Boost. That'll get you going. It'll give you a boner like you've never seen before.
I've had lots of those.
That's one of the selling points of Nitric Boost.
Okay.
Crazy erections. No, but he has like everything. There's like Brain Force. There's bodies that's supposed to like chill you out. There's there's bone broth. There's 100 products. There's a big old supplement line. There's fluoride-free toothpastes,
of course.
So just everything.
Yep. Okay.
Water filtration. He's got those sponsors. That's been around forever. The My Patriot Supply are the people with the buckets, the food buckets.
Yeah, and so they're just like, these companies just exist to brand your. So their warehouse is filled with different shows, labels on these buckets, and different like a preacher, telemarketer, those like televangelist types selling these prepper supply buckets. And
I think Jim Baker might have his own.
Okay, well, I'm sure there's multiple entities. Yeah, no doubt.
But My Patriot Supply was the one who was, supplying Alex's stuff, and they would have ads on Glenn Beck and all those other shows, and you'd have like the promo code Beck or promo code Alex,
right,
and and it's a really great thing for these people, because those people need customers, and Alex can't supply like dehydrated food and shit like that, and it's pretty expensive if he were just going to have like a shipment operation. But it's just drop shipped from these people's warehouses, and then Alex takes a cut. Like, it's all profit. He doesn't have to do anything. It's just great. And it's great for them.
Help condition a population to be paranoid of foreign invasion or paranoid of the internal disrupt. Like, it's really amazing how much there's these kind of capitalist entities that exist behind the structural part of shipping stuff. There's moving crap around the country, which uses up, of course, a bunch of energy and resources, just to help people separate themselves from their own money in order to feel a little bit safer, that they're ready for when things collapse. And like you said with the tornado, of course that makes sense. Of course, and honestly, like, it makes sense to prepare if you live in the woods to have all kinds of. But my notion is I want to build a world where we understand the purpose of society is so that we can deflate that impulse, that we can make it less rational to be like ready for violence, to like it's like fortress brain, and so they're really like stoking that flame. It's a very convenient kind of feedback loop that all works really well. And then you end up harassing people, and to the point, the victims of a terrible shooting, and then that sets off a whole nother story, which we don't have to get into, but it has serious consequences too.
Yeah, there's ripple effects of pursuing these ends and fanning those flames, and always needing to be sort of escalatory and committing to things that you were wrong about, that you need to keep up the facade,
right?
And people get hurt. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It is a bummer.
Okay, we're close to the end, and I actually wanted to get a quick fire about Alex's takes on different.
Was this a rapid fire situation?
No, I'm not going to do it. We're going to save it for next time. I'm a pro. Okay, I'm a fucking pro, Dan. I know how to tease a show. Okay, I worked for the Young Turks and Jimmy Dore. Okay,
sorry,
did some other editing too for other people sometimes. I hate it. I got we'll save it for later, but I was like flat Earth, Bigfoot, like that kind of thing, like basically just sort of like the Art Bell kind of like, and then there's a whole ascendancy chart of.
I can give you the answer to all of them.
I know,
in one answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna just imagine that I took a really long dramatic pause.
Well, why don't you just do that?
And then I'm gonna burp, and then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give you the big enchilada. I'm gonna tell you the real secret. And then I would talk for like 15 minutes about something else. That's what he thinks about Sasquatch. That's what he thinks about. Actually, I mean, recently he had Eddie Bravo on, and they were talking flat Earth, and he fucking hates those people.
I at least gotta. I mean, not but come on, flat Earth is one of those. Just like, really, it's just a troll activity as far as I can tell. No,
if something is compatible with the way that he makes money and the narratives that he sells, then he will sort of pretend to know more about it than anybody else and be like, well, let me tell you what the real truth is.
Right.
If it's something like flat Earth that's completely incompatible with everything, then it's like, fuck this noise. This is stupid.
Okay.
Generally.
That makes sense. Yes, and there was a very funny line in that episode. Stone buildings burn down, Eddie.
A beautiful, easy, graceful method of travel, flush down the drains.
Nope, no more airships.
And they have to lie to us about it. They had to write the storybooks. We learned about one fire, the Chicago Great Fire.
There were fires in every major city.
Burned to the ground. It's impossible for any stone building to be burning down.
What's being kept from us.
Oh, yeah, stone buildings never burn. Oh, my God.
It must have been.
Oh, my God.
been a cover up of history more than one way.
So the paradox is the system's lying, so now we believe nothing.
No, the system is not lying. They're telling the truth. They tell the
Stone
truth about
buildings
everything.
never burn. Stone buildings are full of tapestries, full of wood girders. They burn to the fucking ground, Eddie.
What temperature do the stone melt?
When the girders collapse, it falls apart.
The stone girders? What? So stone.
No, there's wood girders in those.
Stone melts with fire.
That's so dumb.
They burn to the fucking ground, Eddie.
Come on, Eddie.
I want that. Oh my God, that's great.
That is a man who has been pushed. They burn to the fucking ground, Eddie.
Stone buildings. They got wood framing and tapestries.
The tapestries are flammable.
I was like, that sounds like we got to animate that, or so. That's funny. But final kind of comment about this sort of connects it all is like, does Alex have a survival bunker? I'm fascinated by the survival bunker industry. And I think I'm probably getting the name wrong. It might be Douglas Rushkoff. The guy wrote a book where he brought into like this billionaire conference, and they wanted to know. You might have heard this dude talk. He's like a tech writer. He's a smart guy. Good, but also has sort of a leftist approach. He's like, they didn't even know like really my politics or anything. Not that he's overtly political, but they wanted to know how they could they were asking him for advice on when everything has gone to hell and they're in their survival bunkers. How do they maintain control over the Navy SEALs that they've hired to be their guards for their survival bunkers? And
well, this is Alex's big thing too.
Yeah. So that's
they're gonna those guards are gonna kill him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So rewind your thought you had just there. And so does Alex own his own does he ever bring up, I have a plan to escape to New Zealand? I know New Zealand is a big central location for survival bunker activity. Or
Hawaii.
Is that what he's got? Does he have a thing?
No, but he says that a lot about Zuckerberg.
Yeah. But he's at that level of wealth where he probably has that same thing too, is my point.
Well, here's
Maybe
what's fascinating.
Not quite like Zuckerberg, but
you know that dynamic where your enemy is always super strong but also super weak. You know that whole thing.
Yeah,
that dynamic.
Yep.
It exists in terms of bug out too. So Alex has constantly not had a bunker. So I think he doesn't is the thing. But over years, he has repeatedly said, I've finally got a bug out location, when he wants people to think that like shit's really serious. You know, it's like, I'm going to vacate my family. We're going to this safe location, you know, all this stuff. He'll trot that out whenever he's like, he wants to be like, guys, for real this time, for real. It's time. I'm thinking about it. But I don't think he does. I think he has a mansion, and that's what he has.
Okay.
Because I don't think that he actually thinks like a lot of these consequences are ever coming. Because he has to have lived his own experience, and you know, like it's been the end of the world for 20 years. It's just been right around the corner. The new world order is about to take over, and like globalists have been heading to their bunkers for 20 fucking years too. Like it's, you know, I would be very, very surprised if he had even a large supply of his own survival food. That would surprise me.
Even like you got to assume he's got like a room, because you know I think they also like the aesthetics of this sort of thing where you have the look at my basement, I've got this secret wall here, look behind the dartboard, press that button and then it opens up and there's the gun, because they're all trying to relive a little bit of that movie experience. They like the LED lighting behind the wall of guns and the gas mask and the so you think he's got stuff like that. Okay,
a hidden wall and guns, I believe.
Yeah, that's kind of
I don't think the survival food, for one, I think that survival food is probably not very good. And I think that he's rich. So
Right.
I think if there's any kind of survival food situation, it's probably better.
Preserve it, yeah.
But also, I don't know. I would find it difficult to imagine him having a bunker, because I also think that like bunkers, let's be honest, they're very expensive. I don't think he has bunker money, like a good bunker money. I think he has a lot of money, but like a good bunker, that's a lot.
True.
That's
Yes.
Zuckerberg money.
Well, there's the billionaire kind of thing where it's compound. It becomes a whole different notion of, and I know they all have contingency plans, and this is one of those worlds that I think would be an amazing documentary too. Like, what is going on? Like, because also to me, I take it as like, we should make it illegal. Like, rich people don't get to do bunkers, because that means that they will maybe build a world, because they're the ones in charge of everything, where we don't have to have this fear that they're going to have to escape the masses or escape. Because I also think I have this
Should you be able to have a bunker if you're not a billionaire?
No bunkers.
So no one can have bunkers?
I'm not saying no safety bunkers or no plans.
Can you live in a
contingency.
basement?
I'm saying that, like, when you allow, it's like, if you're going to be in charge of a society, which billionaires are, we should not be like, well, yeah, well, clear, like to me, it's a sign that things are heading in a very bad direction. I don't necessarily know if you should say, no, you can never do that. That's not something that should be illegal or something, but
right.
it is an indication of a world that is being led very poorly. It's exactly, to me, like if I were to make a short animation of it, it'd be the pilot comes out of the cockpit and is panicked and starts putting on a parachute, and you're sitting there in the, you don't have any control over where the plane's going, and now the pilot is planning to escape. So like maybe, and obviously you can't say, well, you're going to say no parachutes for anybody. The point isn't that, it is that it's not okay that they get to survive. Like, so like the other part of it is kind of like, I can think of a show idea I have called The Last Industry, or The Final Industry, which is where people on the surface just hunt billionaires in their bunkers. And they get into...
Alex would invest in that show.
Oh,
he kind of says about that a lot.
Can you send him an email? Can you
I'll shoot him an email.
We do lunch at Five Guys. And so like, but then you'd be fighting cyborg robots. Like, it'd be like a sci-fi dystopian kind of movie, but like, well, look, we found an air vent, or like there's a poison, like, so it's a very violent kind of thing. And then you end up in these bunkers, you look for the gun caches, and you look for, because this stuff exists on very small scales, and it scales up through the billionaire chain all the way upwards. And I also think that, go ahead.
If you made this, it would be predictive programming. That would be...
What is predictive? What do you mean?
It's the globalists telling you secret messages through movies. If you
by
made
making
that
the
would be-
movie and conditioning the preparation of that stuff?
Yeah, you'd be sending out a message to the public.
Yeah. I'm just going to put like an air tag on the Mona Lisa, and then wherever she ends up, I'll know that that's where the billionaires are, because they're gonna hoard art before they try to help anybody. See, smart. Maybe that's what we should do. Air tag on. I
mean, it's an interesting
another painting
gamble.
that's famous. Star Eyes, the guy with no ear. That guy.
Van Gogh.
Yeah, Van Gogh.
It's an interesting gamble, but then you're betting on those public, like the Mona Lisa being the actual one, and it's not already somewhere in a bunker.
That's probably
right.
True.
Yeah. You gotta take this to the next step.
Fair.
Whatever your paranoia is, be sure you think about how people would plan around that paranoia, and then assume that that's true.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay. It just drives me absolutely crazy that these people are in charge, and they're planning to escape the destruction of the planet that they're on. And Earth is heaven. We were born on heaven. We deserve to live in accordance with our instincts, which means we deserve to live relaxed lives with people we love and have fulfilling connections and survive the pain of existence that exists, that's baked in, which means the grief that comes with death and accidents and social problems too, because sometimes it's kind of hard being a kid when you got to learn what it's like to be around people.
Sure.
Especially
I don't
if you're
disagree
undiagnosed
with
autistic.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
disagree with most of that, and I don't know, to the extent that bunker thoughts are happening. It is an abdication of social responsibility, and
that's kind of what I mean. And it's also just another capitalist absorbing everything into its purview, because there's services. I'm sure there's services that provide consulting for people like Alex. They have timeshares type stuff. I bet that's what my assumption would be, that he has bought in or maybe at least been sold this, because these things only exist in these little channels and these backroom kind of things when these guys are out to dinner with each other, when they're showing each other their gun dungeons. They're talking about this stuff. Oh yeah, we're having a meeting with this guy and we're going to talk about this thing, and do I want to taste your bucket of highly preservatives potato salad? Fuck no, that's disgusting. And yeah. All right, Dan. Were you impressed with my interviewing skills?
I am impressed. I'm impressed by the goatee. I think it's sharp.
Oh yeah, well, it's half there. It's low. I'm losing it. It's all gone. I had to shave. I can't grow a beard anymore.
But I think the goatee works. I think that's a good look.
Honestly, I am so despondent about the loss of my face, but I do appreciate you bringing it up, because I want to talk about it all the time, because I'm hyper conscientious of it, even though I wish I could say that I'm above it and I'm an ascended being who has no feelings about how I present to the world. But my beard's been falling out in stages for the last 3 years.
Sure.
And that's been terrible for me and horrible for my self-confidence, and really keeping me off TikTok, because I'm sure they'll make fun of me when I finally get back on there a little bit. I've been thinking about that this week. But yeah, it's.
Well, I'm sorry to pay you a compliment. That was
no, it's okay. No, I appreciate you bringing. I genuinely mean this. I wouldn't say it if I didn't. But like, why not just shave it all off? I have a horrible. I'm carrying some weight, but also I have like shitty skin. Like supermodels have like tight skin, or like some people have like there's elasticity scales, and I have crappy skin. I'm the living, breathing human example of like why men like their beards, partially because you can. It hides that ugly double chin, That's
what this is doing.
You do great. You look horrible.
I'm hiding though. Totally.
Yeah.
And
there's an emotional component to that too. You said your therapist made you sign an NDA at the beginning of our conversation, so it's so funny.
Can't talk about it.
But absolutely, I loved my beard. I had a very nice beard. I was very and human beings, clearly our beards are a frontward communication thing about our species as an animal, and it's completely healthy and normal for healthy maybe is not the right word, but it's completely normal and understandable to see an animal with patchy fur and go, oh, that's not good. You see any animal, picture any old animal, and they've got some big old chunk of fur missing and it's just skin showing, and that's absolutely true for a human face, especially for like myself. I can only grow and of course, just my luck, it's not all gone, so I can grow a stripe right here. It's a stripe that goes all the way down and then like this. So I still have to shave. That would be an
interesting look.
It would be, but it's also not symmetrical. Just like this is weird. Yeah,
that's even more of a statement.
Yeah, I know, and I want to be above it. I wish it was one of those things where it's like, oh my God, he's attractive because he doesn't care about it. But no, I'm insecure and I have body image issues. And I hate my chin. And actually, I like my big thing here. I used to hate this thing, but now I have it. I like it because it hides my gross. And now I need to lose weight. But I've been making a documentary about my former employer because of issues I had with the way that they communicated to their audience about the reasons of the union that I had to start in order to try to get health insurance. What went down. So that's that's stressful. The undiagnosed autism certainly was a major part of it. I'm not blaming just the working conditions and all that. It's not solely alone, but that really contributed to the stress thing that's happening.
Sure.
And I can't access healthcare. Stresses me out, and I worry so much. And I have this beautiful kitty cat that I want that you need to adopt from me.
I'm not going to, but I did see that she made a little guest appearance. I saw her pop in for a second
up in the back.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
she looks great. She'd be a credit to any home.
She's a darling cat. She's above average, and little bit not quite the floppy lap cat that I hoped for. I kind of like it when they just sort of lay in your lap but we cuddle. She still cuddles and stuff, and she's a little independent, but she's
a great selling point.
She's a sweetie.
She cuddles.
Yeah. She clearly was raised with she's spayed and neutered or chipped or whatever the fuck, and she grew up with people because she lets me pet her while she eats. She likes that, like how like a feral cat would be like they're not gonna let you touch you when you eat and stuff. I pet her while she poops. No, but we got a lot of nice toys. That thing behind me, that gray, well, right there. That is heated. It's plugged in. So it's got a little switch.
Shit.
Does
that come with it?
Yeah, everything comes with her, man. She get it all.
I'm not taking your cat.
You're in Chicago. It'd be impossible for her to do it anyway. My mom was like, "Oh, bring me the cat." I was like, "Fuck off, Mom. I'm not gonna drive a cat across the country." I do think though, and here's another movie idea. I'm just having fun with my friend Dan now. Everybody, you can sign off if you like. It'd be a great movie, romantic comedy about a guy like me whose life is a fucking mess. Even though clearly I'm a fixer-upper, but I also have done a lot of work on my emotions, so I'm ready to help you with your emotions. This is me. This is my dating pro. But I want to do a movie where I'm stifled on how to get rid of the cat, so I try to use dating sites. So I'm gonna put up dating profiles that are like, I'm a big mess, but I'm here just to get this cat. Because if anybody wants a cat, forgive the sexism that's inbound, it's single women.
Okay. So this is an interesting 90s premise.
Yeah, it's like a 90s show. You've got tail. Oh, that's perfect.
I can't believe that.
And that's
wasn't
also
prepared.
a sexist movie.
Great. If we can get a time machine going, I think you could get that off the ground.
All right. Hey, no product placement there, man. We're not Pepsi pays me to keep Coke off my show.
Sorry.
I'm one of the biggest YouTubers, so we have to follow our things or else we get no products, all right?
Fair enough.
Keep it off. I'm totally kidding, by the way, obviously.
No coffee.
Microplastics. Yeah. Okay. All right, Dan, thank you very much. On your next show, I'd like you to advertise that your friend in Los Angeles has a cat. Please do that. I don't know
if I can remember. I will try to do that.
That's a strange thing to tell somebody. I am about to post her on Facebook though, but yeah,
Well, good luck.
And whoever gets a cat, and this is another, I will cry. I am going to cry like a little baby. I am a big softie. I cry really easily. That's partly why I'm so confident about my self-autism diagnosis. I've always had this bubbling emotional thing about me, especially these last years. And I will sob like a little bitch when I walk away from her. I'm gonna feel like but that's why I need to find her the home where I know she'll be better cared for.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lack of love. It's too much love. I have so much emotion surrounding this whole deal, and I just want to be left the fuck alone.
I feel like there would be a time when this would possibly be a VH1 reality show where getting a new home for your cat, and then like you're testing people out. It's a competition type reality show.
Oh my God,
and then at the end you realize that you want to keep the cat. Like that seems to me like something that could have existed in 2002 on VH1.
Yeah, it does seem like it, doesn't it?
We're really looking for anything after 9/11 to just be like simple entertainment, kind of feel good. That would have fit right in the lineup.
Yes. This guy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Dan. It's been wonderful reconnecting after the drought of our friendship, and I'd love to reconnect with other Chicago people too. The only time in my life I felt like I had anything close to a community that felt good to me and that felt worthwhile, and I miss it so much, even though there was some issues with my own personal self at the time. But damn,
we all had trouble.
That's what people say to me to make me feel better. Hey, everybody's. Congratulations on the show. Looking forward to continuing to listen, and thank you for doing this episode. I'm just gonna end the show and say, everybody go watch Knowledge Fight on. Don't watch it. It's not on video, and there's a website, and they're awesome. You don't need any promotion. They're not on social media. I'm so jealous that you don't do video. Honestly, the audio only thing is a dream because fuck this video stuff.
Video's tough.
Don't do the video stuff. No,
I won't.
All right, bye everybody. Don't hang up, Dan. Bye everybody. All right, Dan. Do you want to hang up or do you want to say anything?